They say some moments don't just happen to you, they bruise you. Quietly, slowly, like fingerprints on a window you never noticed, until the light hit just right. I never thought I'd be sitting here, telling a story like this. But life has a way of creeping up behind you, whispering things you thought you'd buried. It started with a knock. Not a dramatic bang. Just 3 soft knocks on my front door. I remember the sound clear as day. Like it didn't just touch the wood, it tapped something inside me I'd been trying to ignore. I had just made tea. The house smelled like chamomile and the faint bitterness of lemon floor cleaner. The sun was setting, orange bleeding into purple through the blinds. I was alone, but I was used to that. That's what divorce does. It teaches you how to live with your own silence. And then, there he was. Liam, my ex-husband's son, my stepson. Only, he wasn't a boy anymore. He was taller, broader. His voice deeper, but the eyes were the same, those quiet, searching eyes I used to wipe tears from when he scraped his knees, back when I was mom. Even though I never gave birth to him, I loved him like he came from me. And yet, something about the way he looked at me that night, something different sat in that silence between us. He smiled, said, "Hey, can I stay here for a while?" And just like that, everything I thought I'd gotten past, everything I told myself I'd buried, came back like a wave I didn't see coming. I wish I could say the story is simple. That I welcomed him in, we caught up, and it ended where it should have, with closure, with peace. But that would be a lie. The truth is, some doors, once open, don't just let people in. They let feelings in. Memories. Longings. Things you swore you'd never feel again. And once they're inside, you can't always shut them out. It's been 2 years since that knock. 1 year since Liam moved back in. And not a single day has passed where I haven't asked myself, what really changed that night? Me? Him? Us? Or was the change already there, waiting for a moment to bloom? If you've ever questioned your own heart, if you've ever stood at the edge of a line you swore you'd never cross, then maybe you'll understand what I'm about to say. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence turns into stories too heavy to carry alone. Because the next few minutes, they might echo something you've never dared to admit, even to yourself. I married Mark when Liam was just 10. Big eyes, messy hair, always asking questions, always wanting hugs. He was shy at first, careful, like he wasn't sure if it was safe to love me. But little by little, he let me in. And I loved him. Not halfway. Not because I had to. I loved him like he was mine. For years, we were a family. Flawed, but trying. Mark worked late. Traveled a lot. And somehow, Liam and I became the constant in each other's lives. I was the one who packed his lunches, helped with science projects, waited in the car during soccer practice. He called me Mom once, when he was 12. Then caught himself, went quiet. But it stuck with me, because I felt like his mother, even if no one else saw it that way. Then came the slow unraveling. The kind of silence between adults that fills a house and chokes everything in it. Mark became a stranger in our home. Smiles turned into nods, nods into sighs, sighs into slammed doors. By the time the divorce papers were signed, it wasn't just a marriage that ended. It was years of routines, memories, little things that made a life. Liam stayed with his dad. At first, we didn't talk for months. I didn't want to cross any boundaries. Didn't want to make things harder for him. So I waited. And it hurt. Then one day, my phone lit up. His name. He didn't say much. Just that he'd left college. Didn't go into why. Said he needed somewhere to stay. And without thinking, without blinking, I said yes. When he showed up at my door, he was different. Broader shoulders. More facial hair. Deeper voice. But it wasn't just the physical changes. There was something quieter about him. He moved like he was carrying something, like the world had gotten heavy, and he didn't know how to say it out loud. He hugged me. Tighter than I expected. And for a second, I felt this pulse. Not romantic. Not sexual. Just electric. Like two people who had been apart too long and didn't know how to find their way back. The house had been too quiet for too long. No footsteps. No late-night fridge visits. Just me, the clock, and my thoughts. But now, there was movement again. A second toothbrush in the holder. The sound of the shower running in the morning. The couch cushions shifting under someone else's weight. It should have felt like comfort. But it didn't. Not exactly. It felt like something was waiting to happen. Something neither of us could name, but both of us could feel. It was a Friday night. The kind of night that used to mean family dinners, laughter, dishes clinking, and kids bickering over dessert. But now, it was just me and Liam. Two people trying to pretend the years in between hadn't reshaped them into strangers with shared history. He suggested a movie. Something light. Something we'd both seen before. I don't even remember the title now. Just that it was safe, familiar, something to fill the quiet. The lights were off. Only the soft blue from the TV flickered across the room. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, legs curled under us, a bowl of popcorn between us. The kind of setup that should have been innocent, should have been harmless. But then, our hands touched. Just a brush, his fingers grazing mine as we both reached for the same piece. And I froze. Not because it hurt, but because of how long he let his fingers linger. How he didn't look away. That look. It wasn't the look of a boy remembering bedtime stories. It wasn't even the look of a young man grateful for a roof and a warm meal. It was something else. Deeper. Sharper. Like he saw me, really saw me. Not as a stepmom. Not as someone who had once married his father. But as a woman. I laughed it off. Said something about how he always stole the best pieces. He smirked, but didn't say anything. Just kept watching the movie. Like nothing had happened. But it had. Because I couldn't stop replaying it. That look. That silence. And I started noticing things I hadn't before. The way he stretched when he stood up. The way his voice lingered when he said good night. The way his eyes followed me sometimes, not in an obvious way. But in that quiet, heavy kind of way, like he was watching me through a memory he hadn't told me about. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My tea had gone cold on the nightstand. And the silence in the room was different. It wasn't peaceful. It was charged. I kept asking myself, did I imagine it? Was I projecting loneliness into places it didn't belong? Or was something shifting between us? Something neither of us could name, but both of us could feel creeping in, one glance, one breath, one unspoken thought at a time. After that night, everything stayed the same. And yet nothing really did. Liam didn't say anything. He didn't do anything wrong. He still left his shoes by the door, still drank orange juice straight from the bottle when he thought I wasn't looking. Still left his towel on the bathroom floor, just like when he was 15. But the air between us shifted. I started noticing things I had no business noticing. The way he lingered in the kitchen after dinner, even when the dishes were done. How he leaned against the counter with his arms crossed, just watching me. Not in a threatening way. Not even in an obvious way. But like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve slowly, piece by quiet piece. He listened. God, he listened. I'd forgotten what that felt like. To speak and not be talked over. To be asked how my day was and have someone wait for the answer. Mark used to check his phone mid-sentence. Liam, he leaned in. He noticed things too. Like when I wore that old navy sweater I used to sleep in, he said it made my eyes look darker. Softer. I laughed it off, but that comment stayed with me all day. I told myself he was just being kind. That I was just lonely. Just hungry for warmth, for words that made me feel less invisible. But the way he said my name soft, like it held weight. Like it wasn't just a name anymore, but a secret. And I started changing in ways I couldn't explain. I wore lip gloss again. Not the bold kind. Just a soft pink tint. Enough to catch the light. I lit candles in the evening. said it was for the ambience. But I knew better. I cooked more. Not frozen meals. Real food. Meals that filled the kitchen with scent and the room with something that felt like home. Even though I wasn't sure who I was making it for anymore. I started looking at myself in the mirror again, holding eye contact with my own reflection a little too long. Wondering who she was now, this woman in her late 30s who still blushed when someone looked at her for too long. And the worst part? I hated myself for the flutter in my chest. For the way my breath caught when he walked in without knocking. For how my ears strained for the sound of his footsteps in the hallway at night. But I didn't stop it. I didn't shut it down. I didn't remind myself he was off limits, forbidden, or too close. I let it live in the quiet. In the spaces between the questions we never asked. In the way our eyes met too long and said too much. And in the way neither of us said anything at all. It was one of those warm, restless evenings. The kind where the sky doesn't know if it wants to hold on to the last bit of sunlight or let the night in. I couldn't sleep. So I went outside, wrapped myself in a thin blanket, and sat on the porch with a glass of red wine. The porch was quiet, just the creak of old wood under bare feet and the soft hum of crickets in the dark. I didn't expect him to come out. But he did. No words at first. Just a glance, a nod, and then the soft clink of his own glass as he sat beside me. We didn't talk for a while. We just listened to the night, to the silence, to the things neither of us had said since he moved in. Then he spoke. Said he felt like he didn't have a home anymore. Said his dad stopped calling. Stopped asking how he was doing. Stopped pretending to care. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. Like he had done for me. Then I told him my side. How the divorce wasn't loud or ugly, just cold. Like winter creeping through every corner of the house until it was too late to warm it back up. I told him how I'd sit at the dinner table across from a man who wouldn't even look up from his phone. How I'd gone months feeling like a ghost in my own marriage. Invisible. Unwanted. Unloved. The words came slow. Like I was peeling off layers I didn't even know I was still wearing. And then there was a pause. The kind of pause that wraps around you like a question. His hand was on mine. Not sudden. Just there. Warm. Steady. Present. I should have stood up. I should have walked away. I should have remembered who I was supposed to be to him. But his hand was warm. His eyes were searching. And in that moment, I wasn't his stepmother. I wasn't even a woman who had raised him. I was just a woman. A woman who hadn't been touched in over a year. A woman who missed being seen. Who missed being chosen. Even if it was wrong. Even if it was dangerous. I didn't say anything, neither did he. But the way our hands stayed there, the way the silence changed shape, we both knew something had shifted again. Something we couldn't unfeel. Then he leaned in. And I let him. His lips touched mine, slow, unsure, but certain enough to make my breath catch. And for a second, just one suspended, trembling second, I let it happen. His hand was on my cheek. Gentle. Too gentle. Like he was afraid I'd break. But I didn't break. Not then. I leaned in. It wasn't the kind of kiss you dream about. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't sweet. It was something else, something tangled, raw, and aching. Like two people trying to swallow silence, and failing. I pulled away. Eventually. But not immediately. It wasn't until I felt the heat rise in my chest, that rush of guilt flooding back in, that I turned my face and whispered, I can't. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me, lips parted like he wanted to explain something he didn't understand himself. I stood up, walked inside, shut the door. Not loudly. Just enough to create distance. I went straight to the bathroom, turned on the light, and stared at my reflection. My mouth still warm. Still buzzing with what I'd just allowed. I grabbed a towel, soaked it in hot water, and started scrubbing. Hard. Harder. Until my lips burned. I wanted to erase it. Undo it. Make it unreal. But it was real. Too real. And the worst part? It wasn't just guilt I felt. It was want. That deep, shameful kind. The kind that doesn't come from love or logic, but from loneliness, from neglect, from something buried for too long. I stared at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. She looked familiar, but not like me. Not the mother. Not the wife. Not the woman who always did the right thing. No. She looked like someone who had crossed a line she helped draw, and then erased when no one was watching. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, heart racing, skin hot, every breath louder than it should be. And I knew, without question, he wasn't sleeping either. I could feel it through the wall. The stillness. The weight. The echo of something that should never have happened, but did. And from that moment on, even if we said nothing, everything between us had changed. The next morning we didn't speak. Not one word. He poured his coffee. I made toast. The clinking of silverware was louder than it should have been. Every sound felt like a scream inside a library. I tried to act normal. Asked if he slept okay. He nodded. Didn't look up. Said, yeah, that was it. The silence between us wasn't peaceful anymore. It was charged. Heavy. Suffocating. Like trying to breathe underwater. He stopped staying in the same room too long. Started wearing headphones around the house. Started spending more time out than in. I told myself he just needed space. But deep down, I knew he was retreating. Pulling back from something we'd never even fully stepped into. And then, a week later, he brought someone home. I heard laughter before I saw her. That high, flirty kind of laughter that stings when it's not for you. He walked into the kitchen with her behind him. She was young, pretty, barefaced, and confident. Introduced herself as Maya. He said she was just a friend. Said it casually like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. I smiled. Told her she was lovely. Offered her something to drink. Played the part of the warm, composed host. But the moment they walked out of the room, I went straight to the bathroom. Locked the door. Turned on the faucet. And I cried. Not the loud, gasping kind. The quiet kind. The kind you bury in towels, in running water, in clenched fists. I bit down on my sleeve to keep the sound in. Because what right did I have? What was I to him, really? Not a girlfriend. Not a stepmother. Not even a woman he owed anything to. Just a complication. A moment that should have never happened. A kiss he probably already regretted. And yet, I couldn't stop the ache. The jealousy. The way her presence felt like a slap across skin I hadn't let anyone touch in so long. I wanted to scream. Wanted to ask him why he brought her here. Why he smiled at her the way he used to smile at me. But I said nothing, because there was nothing I could say. That wouldn't unravel the lie we were both trying to stitch back together in silence. Nights became the hardest. Not because they were quiet, but because they gave me nowhere to hide. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and the questions would come, soft at first, then loud. Crashing waves in a room with no shore. Was I a predator? Did I take advantage of someone who trusted me? Or was I just desperate to feel something again? Would it have happened if I wasn't so alone? If Mark hadn't chipped away at me for years, until I was just a shadow dressed in routine? I didn't have answers. Only the ache. Only the guilt. Only the memory of lips I should have never kissed, and the silence that followed. I started writing, not because I wanted to remember, but because I needed to survive the remembering. Old notebook. Torn cover. Lines already filled with grocery lists and forgotten passwords. Now every page carried confessions. Words I couldn't say out loud. Thoughts too tangled to explain. Questions no one could answer. I wrote until my hand cramped, until the ink smudged from tears I pretended not to shed. It became a place where I could ask the things I was too ashamed to whisper. Did he mean it? Was there a version of this where we could have gone back, Unbroken, untouched, unchanged? Or did we break something sacred the moment our mouths met? One night, I was cleaning out the junk drawer. The one every house has, filled with expired batteries and useless keys, and I found it. A folded piece of paper. Faded. Fragile. It was from Liam. He must have written it when he was maybe 11. Crayon handwriting. Crooked letters. Thank you for being my real mom. No punctuation. Just that. Raw. Honest. Pure. I stared at it for a long time. That note used to make me feel proud. Now it felt like a wound. What changed in him? Or was it me who changed first? Maybe we crossed a line we both had drawn in the sand, and then kicked it away when no one was looking. Maybe love and loneliness looked too similar in the dark. And maybe I just wanted to be wanted. To feel young. Alive. Chosen. But not like this. Not at the cost of the boy I once called my son. Have you ever let something in not because it was right, but because you were starving for connection? Have you ever opened a door you swore you'd never touch, just to feel seen? Just to feel held for a moment longer than usual? I don't know if what I did makes me a bad person. I don't know if it makes me weak. All I know is that there was a night, a single night, where I stopped being who I thought I was and became someone I didn't recognize. Was I wrong for letting it happen? Or was I just a woman trying to feel alive again? Trying to remember what it felt like to be desired. To be noticed. To not be invisible anymore. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe not in the same way. But maybe you've stood at the edge of something, torn between who you're supposed to be and who you are when no one's watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your stories. Your regrets. Your truths. I read every single one. No judgment, just honesty. No shame, just understanding. Like this story? Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence turns into stories too heavy to carry alone. Tap the bell. Because the next story might echo something you've never dared say aloud. Some betrayals don't begin with desire. They begin with loneliness. With empty chairs across dinner tables. With unanswered questions. With the sound of your own breathing echoing through a house too quiet to bear. They begin when no one notices the sadness in your smile, when the warmth you once lived in turns cold, and you go searching anywhere for fire. And sometimes, it's not the sin that destroys you. It's the silence that follows. The pretending. The burying. The weight of what could have been different if only someone had asked if you were okay. But no one did. And so, here I am, telling a story I never meant to live. A story I carry alone, because some truths don't need forgiveness. They just need to be heard.